Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating text that tackles a massive debate. Why do brilliant minds often need highly specific, top-tier environments to reach their absolute peak? We are going to objectively unpack the stark contrast between getting a strong foundational education and the actual ecosystems required for world-changing scientific breakthroughs. We'll be decoding the complex academic divide between different global systems and exploring exactly why geniuses need top environments to thrive. So, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the summit logic of fields, look at 3 major advantages of Western academia, break down 4 domestic research dilemmas, and wrap up with what this means for everyday education. All right, let's jump right into part 1, the summit logic of fields. Okay, so this whole analysis was actually sparked by the 2026 Fields Medal. You know, the award that's basically the Nobel Prize of mathematics? Well, 2 Chinese mathematicians won it. And as you can imagine, the media back home went absolutely wild, celebrating it as a massive win for the domestic higher education system. But, looking past all that hype, the author of our source text asks a really tough underlying question. Why do these geniuses always seem to reach the summit overseas? It's like a giant puzzle, and the text points out a really fascinating pattern here. Institutions like Peking University provide incredibly intense, rock-solid foundational training, but the actual earth-shattering milestones, things like Hong Wang solving the century-old 3D Kakeya conjecture or Yuji Deng mapping Hilbert's sixth problem, those happened entirely at Western institutions like NYU, UChicago, and USC. The raw talent was forged at home, but the ultimate academic leap happened somewhere else entirely. Which brings us to part 2, the 3 advantages of Western academia. So, if the foundation is built at home, what is this magic soil dividend they're getting abroad? The source pins it down to 3 systemic advantages in Europe and America that let these brilliant minds take that final massive leap. First up, deep academic soil. This simply means there is a massive accumulated history of research. Scientists are literally standing on the shoulders of giants. Number 2, protection of innovation. We're talking about a highly contractual, transparent system of equal collaboration. No stolen credit, no shady exploitation. And third, a relaxed atmosphere. Researchers actually have the freedom to just explore. They are driven by pure inspiration, not crushing pressure. And a huge piece of this puzzle is the tenure track system. The author highlights this as the ultimate shield for academics in these top environments. Why? Because it offers long-term financial stability and actual academic freedom. It completely protects scholars from that relentless hamster wheel of churning out low-quality papers just to hit arbitrary annual metrics. It gives them the breathing room they absolutely need for those high-risk, high-reward breakthroughs that can literally take years to materialize. Now let's flip the lens for part 3, the 4 dilemmas of domestic research. The author meticulously breaks down why domestic research faces so much systemic friction, neutrally outlining 4 massive dilemmas. It's a stark contrast. Instead of inspiration and freedom, you've got scientists bogged down by rigid KPIs. Transparent rules? They're often replaced by what the author calls a secret recipe monopoly, where data and techniques are just hoarded. And instead of equal collaboration, resources frequently get controlled by academic warlords. So young, unconnected scholars often end up treated like basic laborers in a highly bureaucratized machine, rather than getting to focus on pure, groundbreaking research. All this friction leads to a really poignant question in the text. Why do prominent scientists, when they return to the domestic environment, rarely achieve Nobel or Fields-level breakthroughs? The author points to highly acclaimed scientists like Professor Yan Ning as a prime example. Despite getting immense social standing and huge administrative resources when they come back, the domestic ecosystem ultimately caps their highest innovative potential. It all comes right back to those 4 dilemmas we just talked about. To really drive home that 4th dilemma, the trap of bureaucratization, the text uses the case of Ma Xingru. The cultural tendency that he who excels in learning can be an official is a dangerous trap here. The author describes Ma as a rare genius-level mechanics expert who was swallowed by the system and turned into a political official. And according to the source, this shift didn't just lead to his eventual downfall as a corrupt official. Tragically, it completely destroyed his scientific potential. The text presents this as a profound, heartbreaking waste of top-tier intellectual resources. All right, moving on to our final section, return to education and research. If you or anyone you know has ever felt that crushing pressure to get into a top-tier university, listen up, because this next point is directed right at you. The text argues for a total disenchantment of elite school worship. It bluntly states that if a student lacks true academic talent, blindly chasing schools like Tsinghua or Peking is absolutely not worth it. The author argues that without the raw, exceptional mathematical talent of someone like those Fields Medal winners, forcing yourself into that hyper-competitive environment is highly destructive. The reality, according to the source, is that these elite resources are fundamentally designed for rare geniuses. Trying to force an ordinary student into this path without natural talent doesn't end in success. It just leads to painful self-doubt and what the author calls involution, this exhausting, endless cycle of competition where nobody actually gets ahead. The text makes it clear, education's true goal isn't winning some brand-name game to secure social status. It's about finding a track that genuinely matches a student's actual, unique talents. This explainer wraps up with a pretty powerful call to action. The text argues that to truly foster top-tier innovation, the system needs profound reform. We're talking abolishing rigid KPIs, breaking up the monopolies of academic factions, and totally separating administration from academia to give researchers the pure space they need to think freely. Which leaves us with one final provocative question to ponder. When will the domestic scientific soil finally break these shackles and usher in its own true era of masters? It's a massive structural challenge that goes way beyond celebrating a single award. Thanks so much for joining me to unpack this fascinating analysis. I hope it gave you a clearer lens on what it really takes to build a world-class academic ecosystem.